What's up everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm here with my good friend SSJGOSHIN4 and we're going to be reviewing Dragon Ball GT.
Hey guys, this is SSJGOSHIN4 here and I'm happy to be back on one of Bob's videos. And yeah, we're going to just discuss DBGT.
So Dragon Ball GT for me was just one of these shows that I never expected to watch it. Honestly, I bought the DVD set just to have it and complete the set because at that point I had everything DB and DBZ on DVD and I just never expected to watch it until I had a few friends, one of them being SSJGOSHIN4 over here, and everybody was telling me you should actually check it out because it's not as bad as some people are saying. Of course, other people were saying that it's just as bad as other people were saying, but it was just this random thing on Twitter one day. We were joking about GT and I just started watching it and it was actually a really interesting experience. So what was it that got you into watching Dragon Ball GT? Were you watching it when it was new or did it take you a while to check it out?
Well, actually I started watching GT before it was even on Cartoon Network at all. I started watching it when they were releasing it in the single DVDs, so I would buy it as it would come out. Because as a kid, I was really like, oh my god, I wanted to see Super Saiyan 4. I was like so hyped about it because of what people would say, I mean, regarding like, all the transformations, all these different villains. And it's like, a new story. And I definitely was so excited as a kid. And that's really why I really watched it. And, I'm a big Dragon Ball fan in general, so I knew I had to.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I thought it would have came out on TV and maybe DVD at the same time, but I think they actually do that with some cases. They'll wait a while before they put it on TV. I just don't know too much about anime from that era because I wasn't really into it for quite a while after that, but it's definitely interesting to hear. So what did you think about Dragon Ball GT over the years? Did you like it right away or did you not care for it so much like a lot of other people? I mean, after it finished.
Being younger, I appreciated it more, obviously. I liked it more because, I'm just a kid. I love anything DBZ, Dragon Ball in general related. So I was like, okay, cool. Goku, Super Saiyan 4, these awesome villains, freaking all these, like this new story. And I was just like, just so in awe as a kid. That's just me. It's a different view when you watch it when you're young than when you watch it again when you're older. So I definitely loved it when I was younger. I mean, now watching it over again, definitely like, in my 20s, that was probably the last time I watched it again, probably when I was like 20.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw its flaws definitely, and I totally understand what some fans say about it.
I got into watching Dragon Ball Z really late, probably like 2009, 2010, somewhere around there, and I always looked at GT and I never understood why Goku was a kid, because I saw that he was a kid, then he was a teenager, then he's an adult, but he's a kid again, and I never really understood it. And, getting into the story here, this is something that it wasn't as hard to grasp as I expected it to be. So, you want to tell us a bit about what Dragon Ball GT is about, Goshin?
It depends if you watch it in Japanese or the Funimation version, because in Funimation, I believe it's 10 years later after the end of Z, but in the actual Japanese version, it is 5 years later.
Wow.
So they change it. I don't know why they do that, but I don't really know why they did that, to be honest, but they did change it. So, yeah, it takes place later, I guess let's say 5 years later, and it shows basically where it begins when Goku and Oob finish training. They complete their training, and we see them again. And then from there, we actually see Pilaf come back too, which is a really good thing because I like Pilaf. I know you like.
Yeah,
Pilaf
I like
too,
him
right?
too. He's one of my favorite villains.
Yeah, he's funny. I like him a lot,
too.
But he's definitely older now with Mai and Shu. So they're talking about the Black Star Dragon Balls, and basically those Dragon Balls were made from all the bad energy that was gathered from all the overusing of the Dragon Balls. So that's where the Black Star Dragon Balls came came into place.
Everybody over, like, everything I've ever heard about GT, with the exception of, like, the ending people liked, and a few of my friends that were telling me that it's pretty good, it's just been nothing but negative, and it's actually a running joke. It's one of those shows that people love to hate, but in the beginning, I was actually really enjoying the beginning of it, because we had young Goku. I thought it was a big plot hole about the Black Dragon Balls and how they go all across the galaxy and everything, but at the same time, my expectations were out of the window already at this point. It's been that way for quite a while with it, but when we see Goku as being transformed back into a little kid, I was actually taken back to some of my favorite moments in the beginning of the Dragon Ball series. I think a lot of people who really enjoy the content in the original Dragon Ball series, they're probably going to like GT because it shows Goku as a child, because Pilaf inadvertently wishes him back to become a child, and he goes on this adventure with Pan and Trunks, and I just felt like, what they did in going across the galaxy is basically the next step in their adventure, because they've already been everywhere all over the world. So what they need to do is just go to different planets, because when you go to these planets, every planet can basically look completely different from each other. So when we have this adventure, it really is an adventure, and we're going to so many different places here. And I really love the dynamic between all of the three characters here, because it really took me back to the beginning, about how we had Goku and we had Bulma in the beginning of the series, but this time it's Goku and Pan as well. And the strange thing about this is that Trunks is there the whole time, and he's actually like the guardian figure of them all, even though Goku is a little kid.
Yeah, that's one of my main complaints. I honestly, personally, I don't really like that Goku got turned into a kid and he stays that way throughout the whole series. It's just kind of really the whole series.
Yeah.
But the thing that really bothers me is that he acts like himself, like when he was a kid. Like, he doesn't act like how he would be like if he was an adult in a kid's body. He's kind of dumbed down a little, which makes no sense to me, really. That's something I never really liked about it. But people have complaints about that. They complain about many different things, about how Pan actually went off with Trunks and Goku, and it wasn't Goten.
It would have been better as Pan, I think. I liked Pan.
I love Pan. People say she's annoying. I don't know why. I'm a huge Pan fan. Honestly, I am. So I couldn't be happier that she went off with them.
Yeah, I think Pan is easily the least annoying girl in the entire Dragon Ball Z series. Videl, yeah, she's not so bad, but I just liked Pan's character.
No,
she had this adventurous spirit, and she wanted to she knew that she could depend upon herself if she ever needed to. Of course, she wasn't really strong like that, but it was still, she had that fighter spirit in her, and I really liked that. And the reason why we had Bulma and Goku in the beginning of the original Dragon Ball series, and that worked so well because there was a massive difference between the two characters. Goku was just somebody who would camp out in the woods and eat bugs and scratch his butt out in the open, and then you had Bulma, who was just the total opposite of that. She was totally pampered. She had to stay inside of a house with a bubble bath even though they were camping out, so it was totally different. And I will admit that the chemistry between the characters is not actually the same as it was in the beginning, because Pan is not Bulma. She's actually somebody else, but at the same time, she is still someone who is just not used to the adventure that they're planning to have here. But the beginning of Dragon Ball GT, while I enjoyed it for basically them recognizing a lot of what made Dragon Ball what it is, and actually what made Dragon Ball work so well, it was almost like it was a poor imitation. With this, I was just like, I'm just happy to get something that recognizes the greatness of the original Dragon Ball series. Like, if you remember that planet where everything, people are just trying to charge you like crazy for everything, they were inside that hotel room, and there was this time where they were being paid for the amount of they were being charged for the amount of time that they were laying down on the bed. We had Pan who went into the bathroom. She went to go take a bath, and it's like she was charged per second of water use. And then Goku was in the fridge. He opens up the fridge, and all of this food is coming out, and he's loving it. It's just pouring out of there, just filling up the room, and he's loving it because he's Goku. But they don't really realize that they're being charged for everything. And I just love how they brought back a lot of the jokes here and everything. And I feel like if you like the original Dragon Ball series, but you also like some of the more intense intense, power-heavy fights like you saw in Dragon Ball Z, then I feel like the beginning of Dragon Ball GT should hit that sweet spot because they had all of the Goku, young Goku, and all of his jokes that they had, but the fights here were pretty fun too because Kid Goku can actually go Super Saiyan, which was actually jarring to see at first. But what did you think about the fights in the beginning part of the series?
The beginning part, like in general, to me was fun. Even the fights were, like, to be honest. And you know what's funny? A lot of people don't really like the first part of
Really?
GT. They think it's kind of boring. No, honestly, they do. Some people say the first part sucks. It's like boring. And actually, in the American release of GT, they cut out those episodes because they thought it would drag on and it wouldn't keep people's attention. So they skip it. Yeah, they skip to the baby Saga right away.
God.
And yeah, that's crazy, right? And I actually really enjoy those first, how many episodes?
Yeah, it was about 13 episodes,
so?
I think, a few DVDs in.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I actually laughed quite a few times, like, during those first 13 episodes, and, like, I just thought it was crazy that they actually decided to cut those out because, you know, people didn't really like them that much, but I personally did. Yeah, and, like, even the fights were fun in my opinion. Like, some of the crazy, like, villains we see in these different planets and, like, them just kind of adventuring out. You know, I really enjoyed it a lot, the first part, at least.
This is a result of one of the biggest issues with the community itself, and I really don't blame too many people. You know, nowadays our exposure to anime is just so easy. It's all on the internet, and, like, there's so many legal streaming sites, and, like, the DVDs are so cheap. You can buy all of the DVDs, like, really cheap, but I feel like there's so many people out there that have seen Dragon Ball Z and will just fight you with a spear because you say, oh, it's not that great, but they've never seen the original Dragon Ball series, and I feel like that is the type of mentality that would cause them to cut out so much of the stuff, and so much in the beginning of Dragon Ball GT here, because in GT in the beginning there were so many parts that they were paying homage to the original show. Like, there was a time when Trunks,
he had
to dress in drag because there was this monster in town, and he was basically doing what Oolong was doing in the beginning of the Dragon Ball. Yeah, Oolong. What he was doing in the beginning of the Dragon Ball series was he was transforming into a monster so that he could go and get all of the women from this village and marry them because he had this harem going on. And there was a monster here doing the same thing, and we had Trunks dress up as a woman, same thing that Goku did. You know, it's kind of funny that it was Trunks because he was in this really awkward moment right there. Goku would probably not care anymore. Like, he didn't care in the beginning series. I guess they could have done it with Goku, but they just switched it up, give it to Trunks because it was very awkward for him, and that was actually kind of funny. But then we see that just like in the original Dragon Ball series, the monster was a fraud. In the original Dragon Ball, it just so happened to be Oolong, the pig, and here it turned out that the big monster was feared for making these earthquakes, but he wasn't actually making them. He had these long whiskers, and he could just sense when an earthquake was coming, so he would just find anything to get mad about. And parts like that really take us back to the original Dragon Ball series, and like I said, it's not a perfect imitation of it, and it's basically that. It's just an imitation, but it is still funny, and the fights that we have here actually work very well for me, because one of the biggest issues that I had about Dragon Ball Z was that the fights just take way too long. Like, some of them could take up an entire DVD for some of the fights, but here they were actually pretty quick. And, you know, in the beginning of Dragon Ball GT, we had Goku and the crew, and it's like every episode or every other episode, they will go to a different planet and try and search for these Dragon Balls in the beginning. So it's like every single episode or every other episode, it's like this completely different adventure that they're having, and they're fighting against a different boss in order to liberate some of the people of the planet, and Goku's just going around and saving people. And I thought the fights were actually pretty fun. They were quick. Like, they only lasted part of a single episode, and then you had Goku was, like, blowing people through buildings, and he was getting his ass kicked for a little bit, and then he would go Super Saiyan and fight back. It's basically the traditional Dragon Ball Z fight formula, but it's got Kid Goku, and I thought that worked.
Let's talk about one of the creepiest villains in Dragon Ball in GT, freaking Taki. He was so weird. Like, he was really creepy.
Man.
Like,
he was like the General Blue of Dragon Ball GT, basically, right?
Yeah, like, he had, like, a collection of dolls, and he turned Pan into a doll and wanted to keep her for his collection, but he was, like, undressing her and stuff like that, and, like, it was just really, really creepy.
It was really creepy. Because he's like this old man, and Pan was a little girl, and he was like, this dude was really getting into changing the clothes and everything. He had all the tea parties and stuff, and he's like one of the villains. He had this directive, and what's so creepy about that part was that he was turning people into dolls, and then he was also taking their energy and putting that into this giant baby doll that was filled with energy, and it's like this big baby doll demon. So that was creepy already. Did that part creep you out? Because that part really did creep me out. I don't know what it was, but it was creepy.
I was gonna say, like, and he, like, what's his name? His name is Lude. It looks creepy just alone, like the big ass baby looking thing, like.
Yeah,
like,
it was Lude.
Weird. And he was full of like people's like energy inside, like he had like everyone inside him, which is weird. But
yeah, it was really strange. And this part actually, like, I enjoyed it. It was less of a, it was more intense than anything else, but the reason why it was intense was that first, we got this creepy dude just messing around with Pan, just like we had General Blue in the original Dragon Ball series, and then we had that baby that was that creepy baby that they were fighting against. So this part right here gradually led on to one of the more serious arcs, as you know, the baby and some of the villains here that they were connected to this other planet that was filled with androids, and this is actually where it started to get a little bit serious here because they had this little robot with them called Giru. Yeah, what do you think of Giru?
I don't like Giru. I honestly think he's very annoying. I think he's very annoying. I don't know if he's as annoying maybe in the Japanese, but in the English dub, he's very freaking annoying. Like, I just can't stand his voice. And like how he's constantly saying his name. And I don't know. That's just me, though.
Giru.
Yeah, no.
So Giru is this character who kind of came out of nowhere, and he's got the dragon radar attached to him, but here is when we start to question his loyalty to the crew, because he actually turns on them at this android planet and is basically saying that, oh, I was just here to help them collect the Dragon Ball so I could turn them back over. And this is actually, it works very well for the story. It's one of the parts where they transition over to being more serious, because here we learn, I mean, honestly, for me, this arc, I enjoyed the first half of it, but when we got into finding some of the major bosses within this arc, I felt like they started to drag on. We'd get 3-episode, 4-episode fights at certain points of this. I think it was about 3 episodes, honestly, but still a little bit much for the character that we're fighting. However, I will say that the fight was intense, and it was like nothing else that we've seen in Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z, where we had this android character that was one with a planet, and the entire planet itself was basically like the villain in Terminator 2 that was a liquid metal guy. It was basically that. So it was a really interesting fight. I just felt like it went on for a little bit longer than it could have or should have.
Honestly, I liked the concept of Baby. I think, you know, the fact that he was part of the Tuffles was really an awesome idea. You know, I think they could have really made an awesome villain there, but I feel like they kind of maybe didn't do as much with him. Like, they could have made him something like where we can even feel more like sympathy towards him because of what the Saiyans did to, like, you know, to like his planet or his people's planet. And they kind of made him a generic Dragon Ball villain, in my opinion. Like, they just made him like this really evil guy, and like they didn't make him like any kind of like personable, no in-depth thing with him too much. Just like, I feel like they just could have done so much more with that character, in my opinion.
You're right, they could have. I think they did a good job in tying it down to the lore of the Dragon Ball and making him basically a Tuffles and what he was trying to do. He basically wished for his own planet, and Earth was being destroyed at that point. He was a very powerful villain, unlike anything that we had seen at Dragon Ball Z at that point, which kind of surprised me because I didn't think they could take it a step past Boo, what we saw in Dragon Ball Z in the end there, but you know, they did a good job in terms of tying him into the lore, but you're right, as a character, they could have done something that we feel for the character, but so what do you think about how they spoiled the Super Saiyan 4 transformation by showing it in the opening, like in the beginning of the episode, or maybe even the episode before that?
You know, you know what, I never really paid attention to that, like, to that detail, like, I knew it was an opening, but I didn't realize that they basically spoiled it. Like,
yeah, they put it early.
How
So
funny. Yeah.
I was spoiled to every single Super Saiyan transformation because, like I said, I got into DBZ like really late on, like in 2010. So I assumed that like the gold hair thing was something that he would have from the beginning. Like I didn't know because I didn't know too much about it. But I hate when they do that when an anime spoils itself. But the Super Saiyan transformation in the middle of the Baby fight, Baby had already gone through so many transformations. How he was like going from person to person and taking all the power, and he was inside of Vegeta's body. That's why they call him Baby Vegeta, because you have this character named Baby, which honestly, I'm not a fan of the name Baby. It's kind of weird. So yeah, Baby
Yeah, I
Vegeta,
know, right?
and you first hear about that, everybody's like, oh man, Baby Vegeta is the strongest villain in Dragon Ball. And I'm like, Baby Vegeta, did he go back and become a baby or something too? Because, you know, I was under the impression that Goku was a kid, so maybe Vegeta, I don't know.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I always thought that there was a Baby Vegeta out there that's just the Baby Vegeta. And, you know, like, we didn't have internet. Well, I didn't have internet back then. A long time ago, people were talking about it. Like, what the hell are people talking about? I couldn't look it up. But yeah, that was pretty crazy there. But the fight itself, we had Goku transforming. They had this really drawn out, epic.
I like that
Yeah.
scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it was a really
cool.
epic moment that they had Goku transforming into Super Saiyan 4 because it was basically going through the evolution, Super Saiyan 1, 2, 3, and then he was turning into the ape mode and he couldn't control it, and when he finally controls it, that's when he transformed into Super Saiyan 4. But then you also had Baby Vegeta that did the same thing as well, and I feel like it kind of negated the transformation because Goku had this epic transformation, and then I think Super Saiyan 4 Goku probably got beat down more than any other Super Saiyan transformation in the history of Dragon Ball, I think.
To be honest, I like the whole with Super Saiyan 4 in it. I like the whole entire fight, from my opinion. I mean, yeah, it was definitely one like the longest saga in GT.
Yeah.
But I mean, at some points, yeah, it could be a little dragged out. But I honestly, I enjoyed it for the most part. Like I thought it was pretty action packed. Like you were saying, definitely like an epic battle. You know, and Baby, like, he transforms into the ape and everything, too. Like, it's really cool.
Yeah.
The golden ape. I like the golden ape. I think it's really awesome. So, I really did like the battle. I mean, just a lot of action, a lot of epicness, and, like, I didn't feel bored from it at all.
Definitely.
I mean, that's just my opinion.
In comparing this to a lot of the other Dragon Ball Z fights, there was a lot of variety of what was happening here. There were so many things going on, and it was definitely a lot going on. Plus, Earth got destroyed too, and let's talk about that for a bit, because that's relevant for a minor arc that comes after this as we move forward with the review here. But there was a time when their Earth was getting destroyed, and Goku was like going back and forth and saving people, but the last person there, we actually see the Piccolo, which Piccolo is one of my favorite characters of the story. He got so much development in Z. He's my favorite character of Z, honestly. Basically, we see that he had just come to the point where he was helping the people of the Earth escape it before it's destroyed, but it was really cheapened by the fact that he was mostly just killed so that he can be in the Android 17 arc and aid in defeating Android 17, basically, because that was a really short arc. That was like 3 or 4 episodes, if I remember correctly.
He was just there to die.
Yeah, he was
there to die. They put him there to die, really, which was lame. Which was really, really lame. That kind of was a cop-out to me. Like, really? Like, he was barely in GT, and then they brought him in. Okay, here's Piccolo. Well, he's dying now. That's how I felt. Like, honestly, it's exactly how I felt.
Yeah, it reminded me of the Transformer movie where they just killed off all the characters just for the sake of bringing in new toys. So what did you think of the Android 17 arc? Did you think it was worth them having it there?
Yeah, I really love the 17 saga, and that's a lot of fans' favorite, like, saga, actually. But the thing is, I feel like it was a little too short. I feel like it was too short.
It was very short.
Yeah, and I loved seeing, like, all the villains come back, you know? That was really, really, like, awesome. Like, you see Nappa come back, and he, like, has that really tiny, like, confrontation with Vegeta.
Yeah.
He'll blast him away real quick. But I thought that was cool. And the fact, well, Krillin actually dies in that saga.
It was nice. I felt like it was a good change of pace from what we just had with that really long fight. Like, the fight that we had with Baby Vegeta was definitely eventful, but it was a little bit long for me, and I like how they refreshed it up a little bit. We saw, actually, the most touching thing for me there, because we already saw Piccolo died, was actually seeing the interaction between Android 18 and Android 17, because, you know, she had become a human, and she was there with Krillin, and Krillin ended up getting kill there, so it was a big emotional moment that they really did a good job of, and I think maybe they could have added...
Yeah, I did like that a lot.
Yeah, they could have made it a little bit longer and really dragged that part out. I think if they had added maybe 5 or 6 more episodes of that, it would be probably my second favorite part of the entire series right here, because it was pretty fun.
And the fact that 18 was there, like, actually in action, doing something.
Yeah.
She was doing something. She was, like, part of the battle, too, which was really cool. Like, I did appreciate that part.
Yeah.
And I really did like the finishing move that Goku did for 17, the Dragon Fist.
Yeah.
Was awesome.
And that leads us up to the final arc of Dragon Ball GT, which is literally the reason why everybody hates Dragon Ball GT. Like, there's plenty of people out there who just really, really hate it, but the only things that I really hear negative about the show, like, some people don't like this, some people don't like that, but as a whole, the final arc of Dragon Ball GT is bad enough to some people to disregard the entire series of it. Now, basically, to me, it's got a really interesting premise, because here you have the fact that the Black Dragon Balls are created because there's like so many wishes, and you just couldn't wish anymore because all of the negativity, the negative energy that was removed from having each wish was put into the balls, and they had turned black, and they had spread out across the world, and each of them had a dragon that was a part of it that released all of the negative energy. So we had some of the Z fighters going around and fighting each ones, and this, to me, like, it took me several months just to watch that arc right here.
It's like so much more of a serious tone, and like we have these silly ass like dragons, and like they look funny, and like some of their like abilities are just lame. Like they're just like kind of lame. Like you're right. Like it dragged on at this point because it's just kind of like, okay, we don't want to see like these silly ass like annoying dragons. They weren't even like that cool. They were just right. And then at this point, basically it's just Goku and Pan. It's just Goku and Pan. There's nobody else. Like, and they're just going one by one, like just fighting each dragon. It just gets boring. Like after a while, it's like, okay,
it does.
So what's next? All right, until they were just silly up until we get to Nova and Ice and Sin Shenron. That's when it gets more interesting.
Maybe for me, I was just expecting something differently, but at the same time, no, I don't think anybody really likes the final arc. But let's just move on to the last bit here, when we have Shenron, who combines all of the Black Dragon Balls together within him, and he's basically this dragon that has all of the powers. He's basically Shenron, but the opposite version of that, and he is basically this humanoid form covered in spikes, and he's fighting against Goku. So Super Saiyan 4 Goku at this point is no match for him. He's just getting mopped with him.
Oh yeah.
And then that's when we see the fusion.
Yeah.
What do you think of that final fight?
Yeah, like you said, Goku was just not doing it. And then Vegeta comes and he's helping him, and it was still something, like it was really hard. Then they had to do the fusion, which was awesome, because I love Gogeta. I'm a huge Gogeta fan. Like him more than Vegeta. But anyways, yeah, Gogeta. Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta was awesome, but they were only in that fusion for, 15 minutes? Because there's... Yeah. It was only 15 minutes. Yeah, it was only 15 minutes, not 30, because of the Super Saiyan 4. So that went by quickly, and they were doing pretty good there, but then that was gone, and because that didn't last long. And then it was
it didn't. But it was pretty awesome, though, because he had, like, the red hair.
Oh, yeah, no. It was definitely awesome. I thought I wish we could have seen a little bit more Gogeta, Super Saiyan 4. But, Yeah. Then Goku ends up defeating him with the, what was it? Spirit?
He did the Dragon Fist.
The Dragon Fist?
No, he did the Spirit Bomb. Yeah,
right?
he did the Spirit Bomb, and he collected spirit from around the galaxy.
Yes, that's what it was. It was like a gigantic, enormous, huge Spirit Bomb. That was like his last.
Yeah, it was. It was massive.
Move
it was this huge beam that was just this huge ball that was coming down on him. I'd kind of, he did the Dragon Fist, but it didn't really affect him any. And that was the thing. Like, we went from Omega Shenron just taking all of Goku's attacks, and he was just like, oh, was that supposed to tickle? And then they flipped it when Vegeta and Goku, they fused together, and they were fighting against him that way, but he was just like no match for him there, so it just was this total 180 flip where they were just so much stronger than he was, and they were just fighting against him that way. They eventually beat him. Before we move on to talk about the ending of it, I wanted to say something about the fight here. The fight, I felt, it was basically like you would expect out of a lot of your Dragon Ball Z fights, like a fight out of some of the movies or something like that. It's like you would expect. They're basically just going back and forth, and I'm stronger, and let me transform, that sort of thing. It's not necessarily bad, but I feel like a lot of the fights that we had earlier in the series were much more eventful, like the baby fight, which, like I said, was a little bit long for me, but I have to admit it was very eventful, and the stages of the fight that they went through, it was like a theme park of fights, basically. But this one, it was kind of, it was a little bit dry, but we did have Goku and Vegeta there fusing together. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, he's actually one of my favorite transformations because, like you said, it was just a completely different look out of any kind of transformation we've seen from, completely different. Like, it was just a, with fur all over him, like, okay, that was awesome. Instead of making his hair longer, they did that. And then, like, people complain about why his hair isn't, like, gold or yellow. I think
it's a little bit too much.
Yeah, exactly. I think he looks great with, like, the black hair. I mean, because it wouldn't be like a true, like, Super Saiyan form because his hair is not yellow and gold. That's what they said in the beginning. But now we got Super Saiyan Blue. We got God.
But the ending of Dragon Ball GT was honestly my favorite ending out of any Dragon Ball, bar none. At the end of Dragon Ball, which is not exactly an ending for the people in Japan, but for us it is, because it's the transition from Z, from the original Dragon Ball series. We had filler, non-canon moments where they were going for the Bansho fan, and then we had the ending of Z where he was just flying off with Oob. I will admit that they had great moments that they could have ended the series several different times, with the actual endings that they decided on were not really that good. Yeah, no closure. You're right. But so, what do you think about the ending here? Tell me about that.
I like you were saying. I freaking love that ending. Like, it's, if not the best part of GT, the ending was a perfect like tie-in to just like make you question, to make you like kind of just think in that ending. Like, you can have your own interpretation, like looking at that ending, and like the Z ending. It wasn't, there was no closure there. It made you want more. It made you want to know.
Bye, everybody.
It made you just want to know what the hell is Goku and Oob gonna do. Like, it was just kind of like a lame ending, in my opinion. It didn't tie anything together.
I mostly thought about what Piccolo is going to be doing with Chi-Chi over there. Because the rumors.
Oh, God. Yeah, I know about that, too.
When Goku's not around.
That's terrible. I have my own take on it. I think that Goku is the new, like, essentially eternal dragon, a new guardian, of Earth. That's what I think. That's exactly what it, like...
I think that's the decided upon... decision for I think everybody that I've talked to about the ending feels the same way about that.
Because I mean, that's what it's basically showing. I mean, he's one with the Dragon Balls and everything now at that point.
This has the type of ending that we get out of Dragon Ball GT is my favorite type of ending. Like, you have this massive epic journey. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood had it. Not going to spoil that ending here for you, so don't worry. Several of my favorite RPGs had this, where you get to the ending, it's finished, and then time has passed, and then we look back on each of the individual characters and what they're doing. They're a little bit older, they progress a little bit in their life, and their life is normal. It's basically what it would be without all of the conflict that we had, and we get to see that for all of the characters. I just love it, and I think everybody out there, I'm not the biggest Dragon Ball Z fan, but I mean, sure, plenty of you out there probably are going to love DBZ a whole lot more than I do, so I think you would really love this ending here, because they go and they show you all of the lives of all of the characters in the Z Fighters as they're a lot older, and basically what their life is like when they're not having to worry about the Earth being destroyed all the time, and I loved it. I love those type of endings. What'd you think about that, when they're like, everybody's older and you get to see their lifestyle?
Well, yeah, that's always one of the best parts whenever they do show just like them being themselves. That's always like one of the best parts in Dragon Ball, in my opinion. Whenever they have those little episodes or little points where you just see them like just living life and nothing's worrying them at the moment. They're just like, there's different points. But even in Z, they have like a couple episodes. Yeah, like even like after Boo, they had that, and then of course at the end of GT they have that. And one of the things that was really sad for me on the ending of GT was when like Goku was going around saying bye to everybody. That really hit me. Like,
Yes.
in my feelings. Like it really did.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, surprisingly, me
I
too.
was like, oh my god, he's like just teleporting, or kind of like, he's kind of teleporting, right?
Yeah, he would like disappear.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the music that really set it off in that moment too, because this is very somber music. He would go down, just say one or two things to people, and he would never say bye to them. He would just disappear because it's not goodbye. He's still there,
Right.
you know. He's just coming down to say like a few last things to him because he's got a massive journey ahead as the guardian of Earth. He's gonna have his plate full.
Yeah.
And I thought that was Goku he's already been the guardian of Earth for such a long time already. So it's just like him taking that next level. Sure, within the story, maybe, him becoming basically the eternal dragon and becoming the guardian of Earth is probably not going to fit chronologically, but there's so much stuff. There's so many continuity issues and everything in it so far that
like, who cares anymore?
He's
like,
getting that next, who cares anymore?
Like,
I'm
whatever.
Exactly,
it's let it end like that. It's cool.
Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to talk about. We were talking in between here when we were changing camera batteries and everything, but apparently everybody was telling me do not watch the English version of the English background music for this, and I had no idea why. I thought it was all right. I liked the rock music that they had when they were fighting. I liked the opening and everything, but I never realized until now, we were just talking, that there's actually a different ending, because I have this set here. It's the Dragon Ball GT box set. It's got the Japanese opening, but it's sung in English. And I just thought, like, I like that, the opening to it, but it's actually not the original opening that's there.
Not at all. The original opening is so cheesy. It's terrible. It's like this rap rock thing. Like, they're trying to go for some, like, fake Linkin Park feel. I don't freaking know. But, like, I seriously...
Oh, my God. I've never seen it. I'm going to have to watch that
I really
after
don't
this.
doubt that's what they're trying to go... That's what they were trying to go for, because that was, like, what, early 2000s?
And you know what? For the sake of the video, I think I'm going to record my reaction to the first time watching that. I've never seen it, and I'm going to check it out on YouTube and record my reaction to that. Put it at the end of this video here before I, like, roll the credits and everything at the end.
It's so
So, yeah,
bad.
overall, like, would you recommend this still to somebody, like the series?
I think if you're a Dragon Ball fan, you should check it out regardless, because you need to get your own opinion on it. Because obviously GT has a lot of mixed opinions. Not everybody hates it. People actually do, somewhat enjoy it. Like, I'm not one to hate GT. I actually do enjoy what I enjoy of it, but I do understand why some fans can, not like certain parts of it, because I totally understand why you wouldn't. Because, like I said, I think GT had a lot of great ideas, a lot of, potential, but the execution just fell a little flat, and as a whole, like, for the series, in my opinion.
I feel like if you're diehard Dragon Ball Z fans, then it's worth checking out if you've never seen it before. Because, you can listen to what a lot of people are saying, but chances are you've never really heard them explain why it's really bad. And if they are explaining why it's bad, then it's going to be because of a few arcs in it. It's definitely something that is worth watching if you are really curious, if you are a big fan of Dragon Ball GT, and even, not Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball Z, and even if you're a fan of the original Dragon Ball series and you want to see more Kid Goku, it's worth watching just to see what they do with another Kid Goku. It's not the same. It's not as good as the original Dragon Ball series was when he was a kid, but it's still really enjoyable for that. And plus, if you really are invested in the characters of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, then it's worth watching because it has a good ending. You may end up skipping a few episodes here or fast forwarding or halfway paying attention to it. I would not blame you at all for that, because that's what I wanted to do too. Yeah, I wanted to do the same thing here. But it's like, it's got pretty good moments here, and it's got really bad moments as well. But I think it all balances out. It's a pretty long, it's not that long in comparison to Z, but for me it's pretty long, and I feel like it's such a mixed bag that it's worth checking out, but I can guarantee that you're going to be pulling your hair out at some points here.
If you really don't like it that much, like, just take it as like an extra little side thing in the Dragon Ball universe. That's it. Just take it like that.
For me, it didn't start getting bad until, like, I was starting to get a little bit irritated with how long the baby Vegeta fight was. Even though I said it was eventful, I'm just not that type of person to like the super long fights like that. But After that, you know, you're probably going to start not liking the series. I'm not going to tell anybody if you skip a few episodes, but it is what it is. I think some people out there would enjoy it who probably hate it already. Of course, having said that, you will hate it in some regards, though.
Yeah, exactly. There's definitely points of not to like in the series. There's definitely multiple things not to like. So I don't blame you if you don't like it.
Same here. Don't blame me if you don't like it either. I'm not saying it's going to be a total joyride either. So I wanted to say thanks to Goshin for joining me in this video. This is actually something that we talked about for quite a while. She was telling me to watch it like years ago, and I finally did it. And we always said, if I ever watch it, we're going to review it together. So I want to say thanks for joining me on this.
Yeah, of course. I always love doing anything DBZ related. My channel is just all Dragon Ball. If you love Dragon Ball, definitely check me out. I have different videos, different kinds of videos. I do reactions to the new Super episodes. I do unboxing because I have a massive Dragon Ball figure collection.
Massive.
So yeah, it's like
potentially
it's
the biggest in the world. Potentially, if not up there.
I don't know about that, but it's pretty big. So if you want to see figure
she's
reviews,
modest. You better subscribe all you can, because I'm going to say she's probably got a couple more, maybe another year until she has a big avalanche of Dragon Ball Z stuff. It's like that. You got to get her before she gets covered in all of it and can't leave.
If there was ever an earthquake, I would probably die in my Dragon Ball stuff. But anyways, if you're interested, yeah, check it out.
Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Okay, so I'm about to watch this Dragon Ball GT opening here. If you want to watch it along with me, the video is called Welcome to Grand Tour Dragon Ball GT Rap. Let's start in 3, 2, 1, go. That ugly CG dragon. Oh my god. This is worse than the 4Kids One Piece opening. And it's not even a rap, it's just... Okay, now he's kind of saying something different. But even the 4Kids One Piece rap opening, at least that was catchy. Oh my god. And then you've got this background music here. It's like, I download free music, royalty-free music. That sounds better than that. Of course, that has the benefit of having came out years later, and there's, I don't know, it's terrible all the way around. I regret watching it. I'm gonna go watch the 4Kids One Piece rap opening just to get the taste of this out of my mouth so it's not stuck in my head, because I'd rather have that song stuck in my head instead of this one.